Hey everybody, this is Marina, your podcast host at UNBOSSED. Here we go. At UNBOSSED, I interview amazing women in Chicago. There is so much woman power in this city that I want to provide these women a platform to tell their story. Please connect with us and please consider supporting by sharing, liking, commenting the podcast. Tell all your Netflix friends and family about it. Submit a recommendation for a guest, subscribe on your favorite podcast app, and donate by clicking on the anchor link and help me continue to make great episodes. I hope you enjoy and welcome to the show. Kristi Ross is co-founder, co-CEO, and president of tastytrade and has been in the fintech and trading industry for more than 30 years. Kristi is the co-founder of Original Do, a visual front-end trading technology platform launched in 2014, which was ultimately combined with and rebranded when the team launched their own online brokerage firm, tastyworks, in 2017. Kristi serves as an executive board member of tastytrade and is chairman of tastyworks. She also co-hosts the show Bootstrapping in America, where she interviews innovative entrepreneurs. Kristi is passionate about empowerment of doers, self-directed investors, and entrepreneurs. Previously, Kristi was the CFO of Thinkorswim Group as a private company, where she led numerous mergers, acquisition, and integration, including Thinkorswim acquisition by TD Ameritrade for $750 million in 2009. Prior to Thinkorswim, she was CFO of Automated Trading Desk Specialist, a stock specialist on the Chicago Stock Exchange. Kristi has held positions in public accounting, specializing in financial services industry's clientele, including traders, proprietary firms, market makers, specialists, discount brokerage, and advisory firms. Kristi has been honored as Entrepreneur of the Year by Ernst & Young, the Illinois Tech Association Citylights Prominent Tech Women, the Moxie Awards Women in Tech, James Ho Award, and has been named to Innovate Finance Global Women in FinTech Power List, Crain's Chicago Tech 50, the TechWeek 100 list, Chicago Business Journal Women of Influence list, and Midwest Women in Tech Award. She has spoken at many technology events and has been featured by prominent publications such as Fortune, Chicago Tribune, and Crain's Chicago. Kristi is an active board member of companies in the banking, trading, technology, and finance industry. She has actively participated as a member of the Chicago Next FinTech Council of World Business Chicago, P33 Technology Initiative, and co-chair Capital and Finance Committee, Executive Committee Board member of CEC 1871, Economic Club of Chicago member, the Chicago Network member, the Commercial Club member. Her philanthropic passions include Midtown Educational Foundation, Rock the Street, Wall Street, entrepreneurship, overall financial literacy, and the importance of physical fitness. Welcome, Kristi. Hey, everybody. This is Marina, your podcast host at UNBOSSED. Today, I welcome Kristi Ross. She is co-CEO, co-founder, and president at tastytrade. Welcome, Kristi.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here, Marina.
Super excited. My accent sometimes gave it away. Tastytrade is a really cool name for a company. Where does that even come from?
I 100% have to give credit to my co-CEO, Tom Sosnoff, who we've been together for almost 2 decades. He is the creative genius behind the name tastytrade. It's nice. And just to explain a little bit more, tastytrade, when you really start to unpack it, tasty is meant to be fun, and of course, trade is trading the financial markets, and it really does exemplify what we're all about. We're trying to add a layer of fun and approachability to the financial markets.
Oh, I love it. That's really cool. That could be really intimidating, I think, for lots of people.
And,
so that's really
and we're
fun.
trying to not make it intimidating.
Absolutely. And then what you obviously have been around Chicago, around the block, Chicago Ideas Week, all the startup incubators, and recognized as a woman who's funded like a really successful and awesome companies, and being successful at what you do multiple times. I want to first of all congratulate you for having your baby turn 10 years old this year. And I'm not talking about your kid. I'm talking about tastytrade.
It's like another kid, right? And for sure. Yeah. And while I clearly look at it as my baby, it's also Tom Sosnoff's baby and, yes. and Woody Ma's baby and Scott Sheridan's baby. You know, we have been a team that has been together, a family really that's yes. been together for decades. And so this just happens to be our most recent baby
creation
and
together,
passion for the last decade.
Yeah, absolutely. And also congratulations on the acquisition that just went through this summer. We'll get to talk about that and see how that has impacted you.
Thank you.
So I would like to say, like, you know, like you've been part of like many podcasts and many interviews, and you've told this story so many times. I wanted to see if we can get into like some type of different story. I was wondering, like, why did you pick brokerage trading? We are in Chicago. It's a staple industry. But is there anything else there that you can tell us about why you personally made this choice?
Sure. No, and I think that's a great question. I grew up in Wisconsin, so I actually grew up in a small town, not around the financial markets. But I had entered the world of public accounting, not because I really wanted to be an accountant, but because I was good at numbers and I needed to sort of be exposed to a number of different industries before I could really make that, you know, major choice of what is your career path going to look like. And I ended up working on a lot of clients in the trading and brokerage industry, along with other industries as well. But when I walked on the trading floor in Chicago, the energy and I guess how I'd say it is the energy and the sheer volume of transactions that were taking place every day was absolutely invigorating to me. And I was drawn to it. And I was like, okay, that's the industry I need to be in at some point along, you know, my career path. And so I earmarked that, I'll say fairly early on in my career, that is the direction that I was going to go.
It just happened to be there. Take me back to that one day that got you starstruck.
Yeah, because again, I didn't grow up in a a city, a metropolitan area, and so coming to Chicago alone was an experience. But it was that first time I stepped onto the floor. First of all, it was a process to get down to the floor, not like it is even today. And today doesn't even look like it's all electronic, so you don't even get that energy, right? It comes more from a computer screen today. But walking down onto the floor, I remember, you know, and you've seen it on TV, you've seen New York, you've seen Chicago, you've seen the trading floors, but it was more about walking in. It was those first steps in where you sort of took that breath of going, oh my God, you got the shouting, you have the papers flying, you got papers all over the floor, you have just everybody interacting, and there's something about human interaction that just like you're drawn to, right? There's a phenomenal positive energy to it. And it was sort of at that moment where I felt that I was struck with that. It's like getting hit with a big, gust of wind. That's how it felt when I first walked on the trading floor. And again, just totally drawn to it and said, I need to be part of that.
Yeah. And like, and now you're totally right. You mentioned everything is electronic. Like, do you miss it? Do you miss that energy that happens at the trading floor?
You know what? I think that it has transformed into, it's transformed in another way. And particularly at tastytrade, because one of the things that we do differently than any other brokerage or trading firm is we have a financial network. So tastytrade is our financial network. So we produce over 50 different shows, and we actually have over 100 different series posted on our website for video on demand, but we are doing over 8 hours of live programming. We actually just extended it to 10. So we will continue to add to that. But the difference is while we're providing all of this content, all of this information, all of this actionable educational content, it's not just a one-way conversation. We have a two-way conversation with our customers, not only socially, right, with all of the different social platforms that are there, but we talk with them via chat, via email, and not your traditional support. It's not your, just your support team. It is all of us, all the way to the CEOs, and across all of our organizations. We have 7 companies within our company, within the tastytrade ecosystem. It's a constant two-way interaction. And so there's a level of access our customers have to us. So we have that energy. We're not shouting back and forth and throwing papers back and forth.
Throwing laptops and computers at people.
but it is that interaction, right? That we are so much bigger than ourselves. We are in a trading community, a very special trading community, and it's people like you and me on the other side. It is it's the everyday person that really just wants to participate in this.
Yeah, and so there's tastytrade, which is you call it network media company, right? And then there's tastyworks, which is the trading platform and brokerage part of the business. Joe is part of it for, I think, earlier investors type of target audience. Yeah. There's others, I feel like I'm missing. Yeah. What else is there?
Yeah. So we have Quiet Foundation, which is an investment advisory service where you get trade ideas, and it's again about being able to take some of that content, right, and wrap it into something that is actionable, something where you can actually take what you've learned at tastytrade and apply it and sort of understand all the mechanics behind it. So Quiet Foundation is phenomenal. We have Luckbox, which is our magazine, and it is a traditional magazine in a sense, meaning we do have it in print, we do have it digitally, but it's about drawing in that community and covering, hot topics and how that really relates to the financial market. So it really is just an extension of a lot of the stuff that we're doing on video, but we encapsulate those hot topics as well. And then we have Tastyworks Australia, and we are expanding internationally. Next year, I'm crossing my fingers. Next year, we'll be in Canada, and we have a couple others coming down the pipeline, Singapore and Hong Kong. Yes. And so when you start to look at that Doe, and you mentioned Doe, and while Doe was another company, we're actually wrapping that into Tastyworks, so it really will be an easier, let's call it customer journey. That if you're just starting out, you can use the Doe platform, but it's still going to be connected to Tastyworks backend. And so you'll be able to, let's just call it graduate into the Tastyworks platform if you really, truly are new to trading. So you're right. Awesome. It is so much bigger, and there's so many more opportunities for, customers to get involved or enter through whatever, let's call it spoke in the wheel that they want to ultimately get to Tastyworks, our brokerage.
Yeah. I wanted to figure out, as every other super novice in trading, I have used Robinhood before, and I wanted to figure out, and I did a Google search for what is the difference between Tastywork and Robinhood? And Reddit has one of the really good answers. They said Robinhood is gas station sushi, and Tastyworks is, that really nice sushi that you pay a little bit extra for, but you also get that extra quality.
Oh my God, I love that analogy. I've never heard that, but that's one that I would retweet for sure.
Yeah, it's really, really good. I was check it out this way. Anyhow, from a person, from an audience perspective that does not know Tastywork, and maybe they have used platform or heard of platform like Robinhood, give us your perspective on that. What is a differentiator of Tastyworks?
Sure. And if I can, I'll comment a little bit on Doe first, because I would almost say that Doe and Robinhood are very similar in a lot of different ways. I think the only other thing is we have a content component, again, that is far more actionable and really truly related to the markets. It's not just news, it's actionable content and educational. So there's a component of that if I had to sort of compare, it is that, let's call it the onboarding in a certain sense. But when you get to tastyworks, it's more of the Ferrari. So kind of a sushi analogy. We really provide you, while we take complex concepts around options and futures, derivatives trading, we actually take those complex concepts and make them simple. What that means is, and I don't want to oversimplify it, but what we try to do is we layer in our content, and the tastyworks technology is the technological expression of everything we talk about at tastytrade. So it is more, one of the things that we really focus on is strategic investing, not just directional betting, right? It's not just, hey, I want to go buy that stock. We teach you how to come to the table and say, you know what? I think the stock's going to stay in this range for X period of time, and be able to actually still make money with potentially being wrong on direction, right? So that's sort of like the premise of all of our content that we come to the table on. Now, tastyworks, we have a mobile app, and we have a web-based platform, and we have a downloadable platform for the people that want the Ferrari. And so we really, truly offer all of those stages because we want to be where the customer is. And we have customers that are a wide range, all the way from let's call it, they're in college, all the way to retirees and everybody in between. So that's a difficult marketing problem, if you will. But the type of person that ends up coming to us is really, they have this do-it-yourself string. They are a person who wants to dive in and learn and be actionable, right? And so it really encapsulates that type of person, not necessarily a day trader, right? Because I think that once somebody goes, whoa, that's, you guys are doing heavy stuff here. In reality, it's once you start to unpack it, you realize that it really is, it's people like you and me that are jumping in and trading and learning. And that's where the differentiator of tastytrade comes in combination with tastyworks, right? The content and the technology. And all of our content is free. So it is a tremendous amount of, like I said, action. It's educational, but it's actionable content. So you can actually take it, understand what to do live while markets are open, and apply it on the technology itself. So, boy, that's a long-winded answer.
No.
But there's so much there.
It's great. And, we can even pare it down right now. And I know you have a few kids. How old generally are your kids?
Yeah. I have 3 fabulous girls.
I have 3 girls too.
Oh, you do? How many?
3 girls, 7 months, 4 and 8.
Oh, I love it. I'm telling you, it is, first of all, it's the best gift you could ever get. And so, enjoy every one of those stages that they're going to go through. Right now, I'm at the stage where first of all, I'm like this with all 3 of them, which I feel blessed and certainly grateful
close.
for. But 15, 18, and 21. Actually, she turned 22. So
that's perfect. This is like the perfect age that I wanted to ask. So like, tell me, we have like really young audience, but we have also older audience that have kids. What do you teach your girls? What are the few lessons that you teach your girls about trading?
Yeah.
You have them on tastyworks or Doe. You created a financial, what do you create? Financial assets for them?
Yeah.
And how do you really have incorporated this brokerage financial trading strength of yours into their education and their life?
Yeah. Okay. So one of the things is, so there's 2 components to this, right?
Yeah.
Call it life lessons. And then there's the financial pillar, life lessons,
Okay.
right? And so one of the things that I've done is now that two of them are off to college, as I dropped them off for college, I gave them each a book. And in that book, I wrote down 100 life lessons that I wanted them to be able to refer back to. So over the years, I just sort of kept track, and I'm like, okay, I tell them this all the time. I better write this down. And
can I get a copy of the book? I feel like I need it.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I've sent it to some customers as well, and some of them. So I end up sending about 70 or 80 of them because there's a bunch that are really personal to them, right? That are very specific to them. But there's about I don't know, between 70 and 80 that are the same ones, right? And so I provided these 100 life lessons, and it's there are times where my kids will call me out and they're like, another life lesson, Mom, got it. so I provided that. In that, or encapsulated in that, right, is also something around, finance. So what I've done for them over the course of their life, always sort of mentioning it, but when they got to age 14, first of all, I started talking about it when they're 13. When they're 14, they get a debit card. They get the full cybersecurity, speech from me, what their presence is like online, all of that thing. And really, I feel like it needs to happen, sooner. My kids are now at that stage, but if I were, if my kids were just coming up like your ages, I'd be starting that, a couple of years earlier, just because there's so much more, involved and in tune to, social media and things like that. But it's about putting your credit card, right, or your debit card online, and what does that mean? And so really sort of jumping in, teaching them that first. Then there's a component, as they get closer to driving, it's about, okay, here's some sort of those budgeting aspects of how you need to think about how you're spending your money. And by the time they get close to 18 and they are ready to trade, I had them open a Doe account and say, listen, I just want you to go in, and I have the conversation around, what are the products you like? Okay, then what is a public company that you could watch and actually interact with and trade? So my oldest daughter, it's been fun to have those conversations with. My middle daughter is just starting that, just stepping into that. And then my youngest is, going to get every step of the way in that. Now, the other thing that my older one, and I've already set the stage for this, is, okay, so next we're going to go into options and futures and crypto and what that all looks like. So it's been fun for me, but I promise you, earlier on, when they were about 10 years old, I still remember talking to my kids at the breakfast table, and I still remember talking about, what do you want to be when you grow up? And my youngest at the time was like, I just know I don't want to do what you do, Mom, because all you do is work all the time. So
they're so smart. They're so smart.
It is fun.
My little one the other night just told me, you need to work hard because we need to make money. And I was like, I'm going to work less and make more money. How do I do that?
Well, the lesson that I continually say to them, and I think this is so important, is every decision they make about, what job they're going to start off with, what college degree they're going to focus on, I go, just make sure that you love it. Like, just do what you love what you do, because you spend a majority of your time doing it. And you really do. So I said, don't do anything that doesn't bring you joy. You're going to have to do stuff within your job or the company you're building or whatever that you don't want to, but make sure that the mission and the focus and the industry that you're in is something that makes you want to jump out of literally jump out of bed in the morning to go to work. So they've heard that from me far too many times. And so even if I'm frustrated about something, they're like, but I thought you loved your job. I go, I do. I go, but you have good days and bad days, right? And it's one of those things. It's what you do with that bad day or that scenario or situation. What you do with it is where the power is.
Yeah,
right? It's about the power of change, and how do you shift that to from a negative to a positive.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. So just to wrap up, tastytrade as the overarching, I guess, conglomerate of companies, what came first, the media or the brokerage? And how did you make that decision? And I know there's a little bit of story there about, building your own tech and a little bit of that. But I want to hear about how was it the decision made specifically amongst you and the rest of the founders?
Yeah, sure. So, and it was probably, I'll start out. It absolutely was the media company, tastytrade, that we started back in 2011. We launched. And it was really around, what is the white space in brokerage? Because we had just sold our prior brokerage, Thinkorswim, to TD Ameritrade. So it was more around, what is the white space? And the white space was, it was, if you're watching CNBC, you're watching the news, and your big question, your big takeaway after that is like, well, what do I do in my own portfolio? And so it's really about saying, how do you make news and information actionable and also interesting and fun, right? So that you're not watching CNBC with the volume off, right? It's about having the volume on and actually learning something, having takeaways that you can do something with. So it absolutely started with media, and so and Tom and I had gone through sort of that process. What does that look like? We tried a couple different revenue models. We had no intention early on in going back in and being a broker. Instead, we actually went in with the mindset that we were going to be broker agnostic, and we would come to the table and provide content for the industry, right? Well, in short order, we got to a point where when we can't control the tech stack, the true development around technology that we were showing on air, we said, we really just need to at least build a trading front
do it ourselves. Yeah.
So we dove in and built the front end and connected to a broker on the back end, which worked out again very well. But then we got to a point where we're constantly capped in our revenue model. You can't build a company and just we didn't want to be a dividend paying company. We were profitable in short order. And it's like, we want to be able to scale this thing. So we came back to the table. We were willing to go from being a wonderfully profitable company to back down to zero and start all over and building our brokerage. And that's when we pulled Scott Sheridan out of retirement and we said, we want you to run the brokerage, build the brokerage, run the brokerage. He did a phenomenal job. He's an amazing operator. And of course, Woody Ma, an amazing technologist who we actually bought his company early on, his development company. He was, he's always been fabulous in his design and technology foresight, really. So we said, okay, we're going to be a broker again, and we dove in and we did it. And we were positioned very well for that at that time. So that we launched tastyworks in 2017, and it was the right move. And it really was that sitting down around the table and just saying, if we want to grow and not be capped in what and how we bring ourselves to the street, we need to go this route. So it was probably me and Woody pushing for it the most, saying, we can do this, and it was great. It was great. Great move.
You were holding on all those papers and being like, we need to do this.
Yeah. Look at the numbers. So
what are the key success and aspects, or what are the key lessons to be great co-CEOs?
That's that's a great question, and it comes down to personalities. It really does, and you have to almost dovetail in order for it to work. Because to be a CEO, in general, you need to be an alpha, and both Tom and I are alphas. And usually, if you got two alphas, you're button heads, and we do butt heads on certain things. But we both bring like completely different skill sets to the table, and it's amazing because we do dovetail together very, very well. We agree on 95% of the stuff of where we're going, right? And the 5% that we butt heads on, and we're totally fine with conflict. Like, I'm constructive conflict, I think, is actually very good to have to get to the heart of the problem. Diversity of thought, like right on, right in front of us, which is great. It makes for a lively discussion and a lot of a much better outcomes. So the other thing I'll say is the portion that we come together on is strategy and really, where we're headed. It's where we disagree is the approach to get there. So that's interesting because I get process. I understand efficiencies around it. And, I think there are times where he just wants to skirt to a certain thing and says, this doesn't matter, but it's more about the combination of both getting where we want to get to, but making sure the right processes are in place too. And it all matters, right?
Yeah.
But it's worked very well for us. And again, we've been doing this for 2 decades. We did it in a different capacity before. I was CFO, he was CEO. This is way back at Thinkorswim.
Yeah.
But again, we were coming together on strategy back then. That's where we work incredibly well together. So it's he focuses and spends a lot of his time on air, and this is the beauty of what he does so well. So he spends a lot of time on air, but he actually spends half of his day answering customer emails and interacting with customers. So there's that component where how many CEOs are having direct conversations with customers every single day, right?
Absolutely.
And so it's sort of pulling both of us together. I covers a lot of the traditional aspects of CEO from, marketing and finance and legal and communications and literally running all of those components and overseeing those components. And then, like I said, we come together on strategy.
And so, most CEO will say it's a lonely journey. Does having a co-CEO and a group of co-founder makes it a little bit less lonely? Absolutely.
It is sort of that lonely at the top scenario, but we've been like a family, so I think it doesn't really feel that way. Not in the same way. There's not one person that is saying, Harumph, this is how we're going to do it, and move forward. We really do. I'll say we do consult and make sure we're all sort of on the same page and make sure we're listening to each other's views. I mean, at the end of the day, sometimes Tom and I have to make that call and just move forward. But they all understand that, and that's okay. So yeah, it definitely helps because it feels like you're sort of all in this together.
That's awesome. That's really good. You said constructive conflict. And I love to hear a little bit more about that. What does constructive conflict look like, and how did you and your co-founder Tom learn how to have that?
Yeah, it is. First of all, I'm someone who would rather address something head on. I don't beat around the bush. It's all about, let's call it full transparency. And so when there's an issue, laying that on the table and unpacking it is way more important to move forward in the right way. Because if you skirt issues, they're going to come up and rear their head later in one way, shape, or form. And sometimes it's in a very negative, context. So the sooner you unpack it and understand what's behind it, it just makes your path forward so much clearer and just so much more productive. As long as everybody sitting at the table knows that they should not take anything personally, none of this is personal. It's all, any sort of conflict and difference of views should be embraced because, and we respect each other's different views. And it's sometimes you say, I respect that, but this is why I think it's different. And you have to be comfortable. You have to have an environment that you've created that everybody can have a voice and feel heard. And I don't want to necessarily call it a safe space, because if anybody was like a fly on the wall in our meetings, they'd be like, whoa, what just happened here? But the thing is, we all walk away, we're all still friends, right? It's you can have, vastly different views. It's about that diversity of thought that I really do feel brings us to better outcomes, because not any one person is not perfect. And they're not going to think of everything. And so that's why bringing us together, all thinking about it in a little different way is helpful. Even just me and Tom at the table, because we think about things so differently, that combination is actually incredibly powerful.
Yeah. What does it look like in real life? Like, do you have an example that you can give me, either, about within the company or even within like your family? Because I'm sure you have adopted this across your life in some way, shape, or form. I really want to learn about having like healthy conflict and moving forward versus like the dynamics of non-healthy company that sometimes can happen at corporations that then leaves them stuck into this nasty places.
Yeah. Oh boy. So that's a good question. It's a loaded question. So I'll start with my family, because I think that this anybody can relate to this.
Yes, absolutely.
Kids, go to dad and go to mom. And one says no and one says yes, right? And so the importance of, let's call it leaders, mom and dad, to be on the same page or open to having a dialogue. So what that means is dad doesn't want to let them go to their friend's house, right? And so they come to me. I'm like, yeah, sure. And then we find that, one said yes, one said no. And I said, okay. I said, well, if that's the case, I'm not going to go talk to dad. You're going to go talk to dad, and you're going to explain why. And explaining why and understanding why it was no, like say, well, help me understand, because if it's about having homework, well, I'm done with that, or it's only 15 more minutes. Can I just do it when I get home? Whatever it is, it's about asking why, understanding, breaking it down. And sometimes you find out if there's no merit, then it's like, okay, there's no merit here. Like, go do your thing, go to your business. But most of the time, so it forces us too to make good decisions and make sure there's a sound aspect of a good reason why behind it. So I say that, but that's actually very similar in the business world.
Of course.
Without being so rigid that you can't change your no to a yes. Right? Because that's the other thing. Don't just dig your heels in because you first said it. Be flexible. Be willing to go, okay, fair enough. You need to also empower those kids, those employees, I hate that analogy, right? Because your employees, to me, we run a very flat organization. But you have to empower them to move something forward when they believe in it. So the same sort of thing in the company. It's about while you set guidelines, you make statements, you make decisions. You can't really do that in a vacuum. You need to make sure you sort of have some input, and sometimes you just got to draw the line. You just got to say this is how it is. But the important thing is creating a culture at work that people feel comfortable and a safe space where they can challenge the CEOs. And we do that. We allow people to come to the table. We encourage people to come to the table. Tell us why that doesn't work, right? And not all CEOs are that way. Not all leaders are that way. And so again, we have a very flat organization, a culture where we encourage that type of interaction.
Yeah.
So, so hopefully that those two analogies.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful. I see you know how you have the 100 lessons for your daughter's book? I see the 100 lessons for leaders book here.
Yeah.
Right?
It's coming down the pipeline.
Is it really?
No. I have actually, I want to say it was it last year? It might have been last year, where I took every week, and on my Twitter account, I tweeted out 50, actually, might have been a couple years ago, I can't remember. I took, basically it was 50 lessons, right? I turned 50 that year, a couple of years ago, and I did 50 lessons, one every week.
Every week.
I tweeted out and just wanted to say, sort of, make a statement of these are the things I've learned in my career that, may be helpful. And so it was, 50 and 50, basically 50 lessons in 50 weeks. And I shared that. And so so I have 50, I had 50 out there already. So I can package that in a thing. And I first could have 50, no problem. halfway there.
That's so good. That's so good. I would read it for sure. All right. So, let's talk a little bit, business, big acquisition happening. Where do you want to start? Cause I know, it's fresh. Basically fresh off the news. Maybe we start with what I wonder about is basic business things. Like, was there always a plan to exit? And was this always the exit? And then to walk me through the decision to actually doing an exit.
Yeah. So I'll start by saying this just to sort of level set my mindset and my framework in which I approach deals. So first of all, in my career, I have been through over 40 mergers, acquisitions, capital raises, startups in my career. And I love change. I thrive on change. And not everybody does. So there's a philosophy, and I would probably say this to you a million times if we have an opportunity throughout the whole podcast, but I have my own sort of life motto, and that is opportunities all around you. Pay attention, but you have to grab it. You have to actually do something with it. You have to take action. And so I give you both of those frameworks because I think they're important. I have a philosophy that if someone wants to talk to you, you listen. Like, you can't do anything except for learn. And so there are so many people that are like, oh, I'm not going to talk to that company, or I don't think that's a good fit, or, that might just be a waste of my time. They're just trying to get my information. I'd like remove those thoughts and take the call. Like, had Tom and I not taken that first call and we said, we don't even know who that company is. We don't want to take the call. Like, we would have missed an opportunity. Like, we didn't know anything actually about IG Group when we had our first call. But we were already in the process. We're always listening. We're always open to take those calls. Because when you do, number one, you learn something, but number two, you just expanded your network. And how valuable is your own network of how many people you later make a connection and you're like, oh, it'd be really great to connect them to so-and-so. Or, oh my God, now that deal makes sense. I want to go back to them and see where they're at. So there's this constant, it's constantly additive. It's like a spider web, right? It just keeps getting bigger. And you want to continue to add to that, continue to learn, continue to add to your network. So it sort of checks both of those boxes. And so in this case, in last year, so 2020, we actually were in the process of another deal that actually fell through during the pandemic, which again was totally fine. We weren't in this to just sell the company. A lot of companies are, especially when you raise VC capital, the intent is, okay, what's the exit plan? And we constantly had said, there's no exit plan. We love what we do, but we're traders. So at the end of the day, when the deal comes, about or seems to make sense, we'll make it, right? We'll make the trade. And so in 2020, we had a number of deals we were looking at. We had a number of SPACs that were at the front door because that was the hottest thing to do at the time. So we were looking at that as well. So looking at going public through a SPAC. And we had a number of things on the table. I mean, to a point where we were actually very close to signing another deal. This call came in, we took it, and we're like, whoa. Now that actually, in speaking to the CEO at the time, who I adore, she's a woman and she is phenomenal. And she totally gets it. And having that conversation with her, when we had her, asked her to describe her company, both Tom and I felt like, you're describing our company. You're describing the core values that we have. Your philosophy on how you approach business is our philosophy on how we approach business. Never in a million years, hadn't even heard of IG Group. Couldn't even believe there was another company that sort of ran like we did, like at the core. And we're like, we need to have another conversation. Within basically a couple of weeks, we had an LOI. Actually, it was even shorter than that. And within 2 months, we had a signed definitive, had gone through all the due diligence and announced. I mean, that's fast. And then we had to, of course, wait for regulatory approval, which came through in June of 2021. But you look at, November to January, it was this short window of time. But you just know. And again, we're traders. It all made sense, and we moved quickly, and so did they, which is impressive because they're a public company listed on the London Stock Exchange. They're in the FTSE 250. They've been around for 47 years. So you kind of go, really? They had the same sort of culture? They do. They are extremely customer centric, and we are all focused on empowering the self-directed investor. And so they're doing that globally in 17 different countries. And we were doing that in the US, just hoping to start to expand globally. So they are a perfect catalyst for us to sort of lock arms with and go, you're going to help us expand internationally. And it was a perfect match. So again, had we not taken the call or been open to a phone call, we would have missed that opportunity.
Absolutely. And so now tell me a little bit about the newer structure that you're walking into. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the newer structure that we're walking into, Tom and I will lead, let's call it the U.S. or North America, and certainly lead all of those the expansion plans into the different countries. So we still are focused on, let's call it our product. The products they offer are different than ours. So they offer CFDs, which is contract for difference, and you can't trade CFDs in the U.S. And so we separate by region and product, but product leads. So we will be in all of these. We will be bringing our products into those different countries. So not too different than what we have been doing, and they are incredibly open and innovative. So when we come to the table with a deal, or we come to the table with a strategy, they're willing to sit down at the table and talk about it. And I'll tell you this too, is one of the things that they have it was exemplified by the manner in which they handled the deal on their side. They showed us that even though they're 47 years old, even though they're a public company, they were able to move fast. And I think that is, that's important to us because we love the entrepreneurial spirit. We love to be able to be strategic and pivot if we need to. And they surprisingly, at the size that they are and the stage that they are able to actually do that. So,
Nice.
so yeah, so in a certain sense, our world doesn't change, but our world changes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm super excited for tastytrade and the brokerage. I'm talking about tastytrade as overall inclusive, but to expand internationally. I was wondering, can you give us some insights about this difference between international, overseas trading versus US trading?
Yeah.
And maybe is there insights about how to should we go and also trade internationally? Because there's a lot of like really great companies that are not made USA that could be really interesting to invest into.
Yeah. So our initial international expansion will only be US products in foreign countries.
Foreign countries, okay.
Yeah. So our and I won't even call it phase 2. I would call it more like phase 3 before we would actually add the local markets to that. So that's first we'd expand to get our footprint there, understand the regulatory landscape, and then we can start to layer in at a later stage, if it makes sense, the local markets. But out of the gates, it would just be the US markets. Because I think you have to, it's almost like moving into a house. You need to move into a house before you start demolishing it or adding to it, however you want to say it. Before you start adding to it, because you need to understand how are you going to live in that house. It's sort of the same thing as you enter a country. Let's make sure we understand the rules and the customers there. Because listen, culturally, from country to country, they're different. Even trading our own products, we have sort of a different customer base in each of these different countries. So anyway, so that's sort of how we view it. We won't necessarily be jumping into those local markets right away.
Perfect. All right, sounds good. I did have one question. It seems to be an interesting time for trading this year, last year, COVID, GameStop. I was wondering, like, what do you make of it personally? Like, what is the consciousness that is shifting? How is it shifting? You're a very customer-centered company. I feel like you have potentially a good feel on like how people are taking power on their trading on markets. I would your personal opinion. What's happening? Where do you see it going?
Yeah. And that's it's a great question. It's spot on, and it is absolutely a big focus. Call it industry wide, right? Yeah. I think I don't think, first of all, nobody expected the pandemic, and nobody expected this flood of self-directed investors to jump in at the rate that they did. But when you start to unpack that and really take let's call it looking back in retrospect. People had more time. When you think traveling to and from work, gone. You think about even having to just get in the car, drive anywhere, setting up meetings, doing things where you're actually you can remove that from your schedule, from your timetable. You all of a sudden have this little bit of extra time and freedom in a certain sense. You don't have somebody standing over you, possibly. I mean, I don't know. Every culture is different, company. Yeah. But you now have the ability to say, oh my God, I've always wanted to invest. I've always wanted to trade. Now I can actually find little bouts of time to try to do this, right? In fairness, you could do that anyway, even when you're at the office. I mean, there'll be a content that talks about how do you fit trading into your day, but that aside. But we saw people start to say, oh my God, I've always wanted to do this. Or people that were out of a job that said, I need to figure out another way to earn income. And so you saw this rise of the self-directed investor really over this last year and a half. And it's been incredible, even for us who've been in this industry for decades, that was incredible. But the reason that also happened is the access to the financial markets today via the technology that is out there and
available.
has been, that has been built and offered to customers. That access was not there in the same way 10, 20, 30 years ago. And so access is key, technology is key, and interest in products also. When you look at crypto alone, 10 years crypto, would you have even thought about, would you have even thought, it wasn't even a thought, right? And so you have new products that also bring interest to the table. And so the rise of the self-directed investor, when you start to piece all of these things together, go, okay, that all starts to make sense. Now, the difference that and this is, I would say this whether we owned tastytrade or not, but I'd be pointing to tastytrade, but they're doing it right in the sense that they are educating. They are providing an overabundance of free content. We're not charging for the content. Free content and making sure that customers are educated, right? I mean, jumping into the financial markets, you said it earlier, it can be intimidating. Well, we want to make sure that customers are well educated, well informed, and not only understanding how to approach the market, like strategically, right? Coming in, making a trade, also how to manage those trades going forward. What do they do if the market goes down? What do they do if the market goes up? It's not about saying, go do this. It's more about providing them the tools and the strategies so that they are empowered to make those decisions on their own. But it all comes back to education and content. And there's not a lot of firms that are providing, there's no firm providing the extent of content that we do to customers for free every single day, live and video on demand, as well as structured educational content in our Learn Center. So when you start to look at that, the future, these other firms are going to figure out, maybe we need to, we've captured all of these customers. Maybe we better, educate them because they blew out of their account or whatever. So I feel like we're sort of the white knight in the industry in terms of ensuring that the customers have the information they need in diving in and feeling empowered about it.
I love it. That's awesome. What is the future of this independent, what do you call them? Sorry, the independent trader, the
self-directed investors.
Self-directed investors. And where do you see that market going?
Yeah, and again, I think that this is something where we're not going to see the same levels, right, of trading activity or the number of let's say new self-directed investors entering the market. I think we'll see it taper off a little bit, only because people are heading back to work. They still got to figure out how they're going to fit that back into their day. They should go to tastytrade and figure that out. Watch our content.
Absolutely.
But so there will be, let's call it a dip for now. Yeah. And we may not see this surge as we did during GameStop or anything like that. But what we will do and what we will have that will set the foundation for that future self-directed investor, a lot of them have had a taste. They've come in, they've experienced it. I think that once they realize how much more information and content and technology and tools and features are available to them, especially like at tastytrade and tastyworks, they will make their way back in, and they will. I expect that a lot of those that had dipped their toe into it will come back again, because normally what happens, Marina, is there are people that are like, I'm not touching that. I need to have a finance degree for it. I need to, I don't have time. There's those few, I'm going to call them myths, because anything you want to do, you can do, and there is access to information. But there are a lot of people that actually don't make their first trade as a self-directed investor until they're like 50. And so right now you've had in a whole generation dip their toe in. We are not going to see them completely drop off the map. We're going to actually see them engaged throughout their career path. We're going to see them engaged at a whole different level than, call it, my generation did. right? I mean, there are some that are in my generation, they're just coming to the table now. I mean, I'm 53. So you got, some of my friends going, I want to invest. So you have this, you have an incredible base that have already said, I know this is something I need and want to do. And again, just like I'm teaching my 3 girls, this is something you should do when you're younger to understand it, and do it small. Like trade small. Don't, you learn so much more by doing. And I see that this generation today is going to do that, is going to follow that, I'll say that protocol in really learning and diving in sooner, but small.
Small, right? Yeah. I like that. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. Traders are becoming younger and younger, and I'm super excited to see what younger generation would put their money in, through those summer jobs and those like really, really tiny investments. Kristi, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We're at time here. It was a pleasure having you on. And I hope you come back soon. I hope you get those 100 lessons. I need them.
Happy to share them with you.
And I hope you have a great day and a great week. Congratulations on your and Tasty Trades and your co-founder successes this year. And, definitely you're like having a 10-year baby is amazing. So congratulations.
Thank you so much, Marina. And thank you for having me on your podcast, and also like for everything that you're doing to highlight, female founders and Chicago. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Woo! There you have it. I hope you liked this episode, and please don't forget to share, like, comment on the podcast link. Tell all your networks and friends and family about it. Submit a recommendation for guests at www.unbossed.io. Subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Donate by clicking on the anchor link, and help me continue to make great episodes. You can find all this information on www.unbossed.io. See you next time. Oh, that was good.